And welcome to the second edition of the
Willie
and Friggy Show. With us today, we got Tyler Gorse, our hockey guy. Tyler, say hi.
Hey guys, what's up?
Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff to talk to you today about.
the college football playoffs.
And we're not happy people. Or should I say, I'm not a happy person. My counterpart here is pretty ecstatic.
I'm pretty ecstatic. It's a good day to be a Penn State in any line, let me tell you.
And I don't understand that, but we'll hit on that later on. TG, your first reaction to these rankings?
I think the first three spots were not a surprise to anyone, especially the way Clemson beat down Miami. I think between the first three spots, the only kind of debate you could have had was whether to put Oklahoma at first and Clemson at second. But pretty much history has shown if the team in the rankings wins and another team in the rankings wins, there's not going to be much of a switch in the positions. The committee's going to keep those two teams where they are. The fourth spot was really the only one up for debate. It was neck and neck with Alabama and Ohio State. Going in, I knew you had, for Ohio State to get into that fourth spot, they had to really put the beat down on Wisconsin, which they really did not. They won by 6, but I think to really negate that Iowa loss, they had to beat Wisconsin by at least 2 touchdowns, 14 or 17, and they didn't do that. Alabama, they had only one loss on the season. It was a good loss to Auburn, but I mean, this was definitely going to be the toughest decision the committee had to make all throughout the last 4 years. I think, I'm torn on this one because both Bama and Ohio State, I think, were deserving of that spot. The committee made their decision, and I think, all in all, Bama got in. Ohio State, they just have to go out and prove in their bowl game against USC that the committee made a mistake, which they did in the second year against Notre Dame.
Yeah, and you talk about the Auburn game and you call it a good loss. And I find it interesting because then why was it Wisconsin at all in this debate, considering Ohio State being a good loss?
It was just the fact that Wisconsin didn't play a quality opponent in the regular season. They did play Iowa at home. But
undefeated. They went undefeated into a conference championship game.
Yeah.
And then they go in and they barely lose
right.
to a pretty darn good Ohio State team.
Good
so
Ohio
it's a good
State.
loss.
So,
whereas Alabama lost to an already having 2-loss Auburn team, who
yet again
they lost to LSU, who lost to Troy.
Auburn's not an easy task on the road, just like Iowa's difficult to play on the road. Just those two play really well at home, and they rarely lose when they're there.
Also, Auburn, until that last game against Georgia, was arguably the best team in college football the second part of the season. Bama, it was a 12-point game, but it was a difficult game being a rivalry game on the road at Auburn. You knew it was going to be a tough game. And, Wisconsin, they did look shaky against some opponents that were not that great this year. They were an undefeated team. The committee did show them some respect, being a one-loss team, keeping them at the 6th spot. But I think the Bama game was a little bit better of a one loss than Wisconsin to Ohio State because Bama, they did have some decent wins against LSU, Mississippi State, and Wisconsin. I just felt like they weren't as good as a team as the rankings showed at times of the season.
Willie?
Yeah, I agree with TG. He brought up a great point about the rivalry games. Like Ohio State only beat Michigan by 11 points, and then Auburn and Alabama. That's always seems like the game of the week right there, and Auburn took care of business at home. I mean, these top 6 really reflect who they truly are, but I don't know if it's the correct order. It's up for interpretation. You could always throw USC in that mix as well, but
USC is not. They
have the resume, strength of schedule, but
team play.
But Wisconsin
quarterback turns the ball
with Wisconsin's one loss and only losing by 6 to Ohio State. I think they end up deserving to have that 6th spot. So
I mean, USC did have the resume. If you looked at the strength of schedule, they did have a better strength of schedule.
Yeah.
But they had one better than Bama and Ohio State. So if you did want to look at the resume, you would definitely have to put USC in that mix.
Yeah, it was just the 2 losses I think that probably hurt them the most. But they're a really good team as well, and that'll be a great game between Ohio State and USC.
That's definitely one that you have to pay attention for coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm going to share my thoughts. And first off, I'm going to start off with it's terrible. It was bullcrap. Ohio State should have been the number 4 team. I think they did everything they needed to do to be that number 4 team. Went in, beat Wisconsin, number 4 Wisconsin. Okay, the committee's top 4 Wisconsin. They beat Penn State, who was number 2, the committee's number 2. They beat Michigan State, the committee's number 12 at the time. And although they had a bad loss to Iowa, I get it. They took us to the woodshed. They killed us. Alabama got in through the eye test.
Okay, let's remember.
No.
Oh, okay.
Alabama got in through the eye test.
No.
So you're going to tell me the eye test is looking bad against Michigan State or Mississippi State.
Listen.
And looking bad against Auburn.
You played Penn State and Michigan State in the shoe. The shoe is one of the most difficult places to play.
They were ranked.
Alabama has to go to Auburn, and Auburn never loses at home, it seems like. And you're going to say it's an eye test? Well, one loss does not.
That's what. Listen.
That does not define
Alabama
who they
was
are.
Quoted to be.
That was not Alabama.
Alabama was quoted to be unequivocally better. Okay, at the quarterback position, we have the better player. At the running back positions, we have the better running backs. The offensive line, we have the better offensive line. And the wide receivers, we have the better wide receivers. We have better linebackers, and we have a better defensive line.
Okay.
Our secondary is questionable, understandably. So, if they're so much unequivocally better, why didn't they just dismantle Mississippi State? They look bad in that win. They had to come back in the fourth quarter. They had to come back in the fourth quarter to win that game.
A win is a win. They don't care how they do it.
Well, the committee should. If it's an eye test.
A win's a win.
Ohio State had the better resume. Ohio State had the better resume. And Ohio State should have been in.
They would have been in if they didn't lose by 31 points to Iowa.
Everybody knows that, and that's fine.
We all knew that game was going to come back to haunt
It was going to
Ohio
haunt them.
But
they weren't ready to play, hungover.
It happened. Everybody knew about it. Ohio State came in the next week, 48-3 on Michigan State.
Okay.
And then from then on out, maybe the offense wasn't looking amazing at times, but our defense played at a championship caliber. And let's not forget the criteria that the playoff committee in the first year said they would go by.
Yeah, they messed that one up too.
Well, that's
conference championships.
Yeah, they
don't
go by
kind of got
that.
negated even last year with Ohio State going in over Penn State.
Right.
Okay,
Penn State
but
won
when
the
Ohio
conference
State went in over
championship,
Penn State, they had better wins.
Who's to say?
We had beat Oklahoma on the road in Oklahoma.
At the time, you're saying conference championship.
I'll give you 3 good wins.
Listen, you're not remembering this.
Here, Alabama's got 3 good wins. I'll tell you right now.
Who?
Mississippi State's a good win.
That's
they
not
were
a good
ranked.
Win. That's not a good win.
LSU was a good win.
That's a terrible win.
And then Florida State at the beginning of the year was number 4. That's a good win.
That's not a good win. And that's so far that neither team was settled in, and that's not.
So you're going to say the same about Oklahoma, Ohio State? Then they weren't settled in.
I think so. I think now Ohio State would beat Oklahoma.
Really?
I don't.
I don't think so.
I definitely.
Oklahoma is the best team in the nation.
They have a power offense, and I don't think
it's between Oklahoma and Clemson for the best team in the nation.
And I think if Ohio State would have gone in, would have proved all you guys wrong.
I don't think so.
No,
absolutely.
No, I think they would get embarrassed.
Baker Mayfield might be the best player.
They would get embarrassed,
but he would. How would they embarrass us?
You would get embarrassed in the college football playoff.
I know we would not.
I think the Clemson defense, if you guys would have faced them, would have shut the Ohio State offense down.
The Clemson defense was
Remind you, folks, 31-0 year.
Last year. Here we go. Last year.
Yeah, but this team's even better.
No. You're going to talk about last
This team's even better this year.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Deshaun Watson last year.
It doesn't matter. This quarterback's just as good.
They got a freshman quarterback.
So if you're hold on. You're going to talk about Clemson's defense, right?
Yeah.
And if you remember,
that's irrelevant.
whenever they played against Syracuse, okay.
Irrelevant. Backup
It's not
quarterback was in.
irrelevant. It's not irrelevant.
It was.
Their number one defense was still in the field.
And it was
Doesn't
still
matter.
Their number one
Yeah.
defense
It was still early in the
their number one
defense.
defense
Early
was still
in
in
the year.
You're just
Okay,
making
I will
excuses
tell
about
you.
being
I will
able to
tell
win.
you all the losses early in the year. Ready? Oklahoma lost to Iowa State. Well, yours
8
was yours
weeks
came
in
yours came in
is-
late. Yours came in late.
Ours came in
Lost to Iowa.
the week after Oklahoma's loss.
Okay, everyone's lost a game this year. It happens.
And that's understandable. And I get
You're not going to be perfect
but
every
we're
week.
Gonna, what you guys are talking about Clemson's defense being good, and that's just ridiculous.
They are.
It is good.
They
what are
have-
you-
Then you haven't
They
lost
have
the defense at all this
one
year.
one bad game does not determine how good your defense is.
Their defense has never been good.
It's
Not
it's
all
very
year.
good.
If
They
you're gonna-
beat Auburn,
Early
beat
in the year.
Miami.
Miami's the win you're going to lean on. Do you remember Miami the week before when they played Pitt?
Okay, they've been struggling, but that's not Clemson's fault. They played defense. They showed up. You don't think Miami showed up for the game?
You know what?
I'd be on the same boat as you if the game against Miami was a close
Okay,
game. But
Ohio
Clemson
State's
blew them
offense.
out.
Ohio State's
Blew
offense
them out.
would be too fast for Clemson's defense to shut us down.
Okay,
That's a fact.
You'll score points, but you wouldn't win.
I don't think.
I would
I think
spot
so.
Clemson 7. That's it. So I'm
I'd
spotting
spot
Clemson.
them 14 at least.
Not a chance.
I think so.
I
All
think-
right, we're
I think
gonna-
Clemson
we-
would-
We're gonna
we'll
move
move on
past
from
it.
this one. We're
We're-
a little frustrated with that
Okay.
one.
Anyways, so we're gonna move into the games.
All right,
Clemson
let's roll.
versus Alabama.
I think this is Clemson right here. Clemson wins this game.
Bama's pissed off, man. I'm going with Alabama.
Alabama. Nick Saban is gotten his opportunity that he politicked for on ESPN, and he's gonna
Even
make the most of it.
Even though I said earlier Clemson was one of the best teams in college football, I'm not sure if they match up that well against Alabama this year. Talking about defense there, you got a better defense in Alabama than you do Clemson.
With 3 starting linebackers, though.
Right.
Their linebackers
I mean,
are out.
they get like 15 guys to go to the draft
I'm
every
just
year.
saying.
And that's why I think Clemson's going to win. You got a depleted
We'll see.
Alabama defense. I think the Clemson offense is going to really take a hold of the game on that aspect, and then the defense is going to do pretty well against an
don't know.
Alabama offense that
Let me be
has
So
clear.
not
something
been
tells
as good
me-
as it's been.
Something tells me after last year's game, Bama's got that chip on their shoulder, and
Listen,
they're going to take
let
it
me
out
be
on them.
clear. I think Clemson is the
Clemson.
number 1 team in the nation.
Yes.
And I think they're very high-powered.
Yes.
Okay.
But
But you cannot forget they're all Division I athletes.
yeah,
They've all gotten scholarships.
Alabama's no joke.
And Alabama just got the number 4
Alabama is going to show why they deserve to be in here.
seed. And
They're
I
gonna
don't
show
know.
And if they don't show it, then I'm going to sway my opinion differently, saying Ohio State probably should have been in it.
I
It's all going to depend on this game right here.
give Nick
I
Saban
think it
2
depends
weeks.
on that game and the Ohio State game also. Seeing how they
USC,
deserve
yeah,
to be.
USC's no.
Listen, we'll
Easy
talk
task.
about bowl games later
Yeah.
because anyways, Alabama, give Nick Saban 2 to 3 weeks to prepare for your team, and I think you're in a lot of trouble.
You're in trouble.
Okay.
Yep.
Oklahoma and Georgia.
The key to this game is going to be the Oklahoma defense. That's the only question mark I think Oklahoma has. We all know that their offense is one of the best, if not the best, in the nation. So I think it all comes down to the Oklahoma defense because that can be shaky at times. It's showed against Oklahoma State. It's shown up in bits and pieces around the season, and Georgia does have a good offense. So I think if Oklahoma's defense can really contain that Georgia offense, Oklahoma should have a good chance of winning this game.
I'm looking at the opposite defense here. Georgia shutting down Baker Mayfield. That's going to be the toughest task they're going to have all year. I don't know if they'll be up for that, but SEC defenses are no joke. So
Who you got?
I'm saying Oklahoma, but I'm not saying Baker's going to have as big of a game as he's had this regular season. Oklahoma's going to win this one by 10, I'm saying.
Yeah, so I think Georgia's going to win the game. You have Kirby Smart on the other side, a defensive guru who has had to play against Johnny Manziel before. And although the one time he didn't beat him, he's going to figure out a way to stop him.
Now, do you think Georgia's going to have a hangover from their SEC championship?
No, I don't think they...
Like Auburn did?
I don't even think they
With
killed
Alabama
Auburn. I mean, it was 28-7.
I don't know. Georgia pretty much...
I mean, here's
they
my
dominated
key.
the whole game.
Here's my key to the game. Jake Fromm has to play well because they're going to stop Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think Oklahoma's defense is going to say, okay, we're going to put 8 people in the box. Hey, Jake, you true freshman, can you beat us? And if he can't do it, then this game could get out of hand real quick.
Well, whoever's going to win this game is going to have to score a lot of points.
We both know Baker Mayfield is about to toss for 300.
That's what I'm saying. That's why Georgia's going to have to score like 40 points to win this game.
That's why I think it comes down to the Oklahoma defense.
We got to have like 2 turnovers for Georgia. I mean, I think Kirby Smart's going to be able to do it, though.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's
has to be.
It's going to. I think both teams are going to be in the 30s or 40s, but I think Oklahoma gets the win. I'm going to say by 7 points.
Yeah, I said 10, and I just don't see Georgia stopping Baker Mayfield. No, who's going to stop Baker Mayfield? Honestly, I mean, maybe Alabama. I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Next here is why was Ohio State left out? And I'm going to start.
Yeah, you better start with this one.
Start with this one.
So everybody else here is going to say the Iowa loss. The Iowa loss. The Iowa loss.
It wasn't just the Iowa loss. It was 31 points. That's why.
The Iowa loss, okay?
31 points.
Here's my reasoning, okay? We all know that ESPN is having a down year, okay? We all know ESPN's having a down year. ESPN and the SEC are together. It's a coincidence to me that ESPN holds the rankings. ESPN sponsored all of this. Everything that goes on, okay? Nick Saban gets onto politics. You saw him on there like at least 8-9 times. Now, it's a rerun of the same video. Alabama did not have the resume to get in over us. Alabama's eyeball test was not better, was not unequivocally better to where you'd look at that and you'd say, wow, Alabama would beat Ohio State by 35 points. Okay? But what we do know is that Alabama generates revenue, attention, and if you remember, the past 2 national championship games have been Clemson and Alabama. And what better opportunity to generate revenue than for Clemson and Alabama to play a third time on New Year's Day? Thoughts?
Well, I mean,
here's the thing. When Ohio State did not make the playoff the second year, the revenue and attendance and the viewership for the playoffs were down. I think that was like the lowest year. So saying that it's all about money, I don't see that. Ohio State, I think personally, would have brought in more viewership, more money for ESPN, for NCAA.
Not against Clemson. Not against Clemson.
Well, you could have built that up as kind of a rematch, kind of a grudge match for Ohio State in that playoff. I think, sure, would Clemson, Bama bring in good viewership and money? Yeah, I do. But I think it would have been just as good, if not better. If
it's going to. Because this is the trilogy, the game 3.
No, I don't.
Rubber match.
I don't see it as revenue at all.
It's not because again,
the
revenue went down when Ohio
Okay.
State did not make the playoff the second year.
Alabama, when they are in the playoff,
Ohio State brings in just as much money.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
They bring in $12 million less. $103 million.
You gotta look at the records,
Alabama.
man. You gotta look at the records.
What's the records?
11-1
and 11-2.
Okay.
Same amount of wins.
Yeah, but one
loss.
less loss for Alabama.
And Alabama just recently, in front of the committee's eyes,
they
was picked apart by Auburn.
They had one.
They looked terrible. Their defense did not look like. This didn't look like.
They did
Alabama.
not get dismantled.
This
was not Alabama, which is why.
But I'm saying,
you should
so
not.
why should they be rewarded for a reputation?
You should not get judged by one game.
They shouldn't be rewarded for a reputation of being Alabama.
That's not how it works.
That's exactly what just happened. This
was a 12-point loss on the road, and then you look at the other road, 31-point loss on the road. You take Alabama in the Kinnick Stadium. Alabama's winning that game by 20 points.
The eye test is what they went off of.
It's not the eye test. It's
what is it?
It's just the resume that Alabama's had.
They said they went because they thought Alabama was just a better
Everybody
football team.
knows how Alabama takes care of business.
Yeah,
year in, year out.
Here we go.
Year in and year out.
You're just saying
when they get there, when they make that playoff, they don't embarrass themselves.
You're just quoting the reputation.
They don't embarrass
You're just
themselves.
quoting the reputation.
Ohio State embarrassed themselves last year. Do you don't think the playoff looked at that?
You're just quoting a reputation.
I'm not quoting a reputation.
That's all you're doing is looking at the past.
The only team that could hang with Clemson last year was Alabama.
Here we go.
It was.
We're talking about last year.
Was it not?
Who cares about last year? This is this year's playoffs.
Okay, this year. I don't see Ohio State hanging with Clemson again.
Ohio State would hang. Like I said,
think so.
I would spot Clemson 7.
I think the only team Ohio State might hang with in that playoff, besides Alabama, would be Georgia.
Ohio State.
Oklahoma would win again.
Oh my God.
Clemson would beat them.
This is amazing. What do you mean? What do you mean hang with? Because you're saying beat and hang. That's two different things. Okay.
I say they could probably beat Georgia.
Ohio State can beat Oklahoma.
I don't think they can.
Ohio State can beat Clemson.
I don't think.
And Ohio State can beat Alabama. And Ohio State can.
You don't have
those teams can.
There's no Baker Mayfield on any other team.
We have better athletes than every single one of them teams.
Then why didn't you beat them earlier in the year then? If you had better athletes, what happened? You get outcoached? Is that what it was?
Hell yeah, we got outcoached. Lincoln Riley came into Columbus and outcoached Urban Meyer. Kudos.
Baker Mayfield outplayed J.T. Barrett.
That's easy to see. He outplays him every game. That's not even something.
So
new.
What makes you think you'd have a chance?
What makes me think that we would have a chance
this time?
I think we're a better football team.
Oklahoma's a better football team than also.
But I think we can game plan better. I think we'd win. I think we'd have a chance. See, you're saying
this is not because I don't like Ohio State. This is just facts.
Where's the facts though? The fact that we lost to Iowa.
Oklahoma goes into the shoe, which no team does this year, and beats them by 15. Penn State couldn't win there. Michigan State couldn't win there. No one else can win there besides Oklahoma.
I just don't see how you're throwing
quality win, quality opponent. I mean, I would be shocked if they're not in the national championship.
So you think Ohio State just has no chance to beat Clemson, like 0% chance?
I didn't say 0, but there's a slight possibility.
I think Clemson would beat Ohio State. There is a small chance Ohio State would beat Clemson, but I think that the percentage for Clemson just outweighs it.
It outweighs.
What about Alabama?
Clemson has the athletes too. Alabama, well, that would never happen. But
there it is.
A 4 is not going to play a 5.
No,
I think Ohio State versus Alabama would be a good game.
It would be a great game.
Ohio State wins.
I don't know if they win or not.
Ohio State wins.
I don't know. The SEC's got something about it where they're just stingy football teams that come to play almost every game. Okay, Alabama had a hiccup. So what? Auburn didn't show up against Georgia. It was a hiccup
because Ohio State had a hiccup.
Okay, yeah, they had a hiccup. They had a hangover from the Penn State win.
Not a good excuse though. No hiccup here. All right, we got to move on.
Auburn's a good team. Iowa's not. It's that simple.
Do we need a new playoff system?
Yes.
I think it's difficult because no matter how many teams you put into a playoff, you're always going to have those edge teams who believe that they should be in over the next team. I mean, would it be nice to see 8 teams in the playoff? Yeah, I think it would be, but you're not ever going to get rid of that conflict. You even see it in basketball with 64 teams, 62 teams?
Yeah, but you see it with
I just don't want to see championships being guaranteed anymore.
I do think that there should be more teams, but you're never going to get rid of that conflict between the edge teams.
I think it was a mistake to guarantee championships as the guarantee.
For them to say
conference,
that?
Yeah.
No, the playoff committee screwed themselves by setting out a criteria that they would not follow.
Right.
So...
But then you have this Big Ten.
So, in my opinion, I think we need
2 years in a row got snubbed.
I think we need to go to a 32-team playoff. High school does it. Division III does it. Division II does it.
That would be too. That'd be
Division
too much.
I FCS does it. If it's good enough for every single other playoff platform, in fact,
you can't
look
do
at
it
the
like
NFL.
That. There's not
the
enough
NFL
time
has
for that.
wild cards. They have division winners go in.
I can't.
More football.
32 teams.
My only concern would be how would you change the regular season to accommodate that? Because you would probably have to take away some regular season games.
That's too much.
You're taking
32
away,
teams.
You're taking away the Mercer game for Alabama. You're taking away the UNLV game for Ohio State. You're taking away the...
See, but every team's going to have that, though.
Get them out. They're a waste of my time and yours. I'd rather them play competitive games at the end of the year than games that mean nothing to me in the beginning of the year. Or for Alabama's case, they make sure they do it 1 week before they play Auburn.
The Big Ten, though, I mean, our out-of-conference schedule is not hot. It's not good.
We played Oklahoma.
I mean,
that's the owner AD and the coach's fault, by the way.
But I don't see...
That's Alabama being afraid to go play in somebody's place against them. they will make sure they play the neutral site game. And I know Ohio State plays TCU at a neutral site game, but we played Oklahoma a home and away series, okay?
I think
something Alabama would never do.
I think 16 teams would be interesting, but over 16 teams, I think that starts to get a little too much. 16 teams, you're going 4 rounds. That's usually where you go. Even in
I wouldn't want any more than 8.
Listen,
level.
Any more than 8.
This gives UCF the opportunity.
They don't deserve the opportunity.
They went undefeated.
UCF would have the opportunity with 16.
This team does not. This team is like Wisconsin.
But I'm just saying,
they play worse teams.
I'm just saying, if it's good enough for all of those other football playoff platforms, why isn't it good enough for the big boys, the national college football, the ones where it's giving everybody the opportunity to go win that national championship?
I agree.
Because that's what they want to do.
I agree. I think 16 would be a good limit. You still have some good games that give UCF.
You know what?
You'd still give UCF a chance to play in the playoff. But I think once you get to 32 teams, then you're starting to stretch it out a little too much.
Why would you want teams in there that have 2, 3 losses?
No, 32. You're looking
and say
more
they
at 4.
win the national.
You're looking at 4 sometimes.
Yeah, you have a team that loses 4 games in the regular season. There's no way that they have a shot at going to a national championship. This isn't the NCAA tournament.
But that eliminates the Fresno State playing against Alabama. So maybe they just play their conference and they don't lose 3 to 4 games.
No more than 8 for me.
Look at
I think 16.
There should be no more than 8.
You'd still take away a couple of non-conference games with 16 teams. That'd probably take away 2 non-conference games for Bama, like Mercer or whoever else.
Look at
Fresno
Division 3.
State.
Look at Division 3. Okay, all the
It's
teams.
just a waste of time.
Mount Union barely got in last year with 1 win. Barely got in. They were like an 8 seed or something. I mean, for goodness sakes, they almost went to the national championship. They're 1 game away. I'm just saying it would make the competition better. It'd make the teams play better. And then at the end, you'd find out who really is the better football teams.
So I still think that 32
you're
is
not
a little
getting,
too much.
You're not going to get, okay.
I think
So
I
we
think
cut it down to a
good.
16.
16's good.
Let
16's good. I
me,
agree with
let me
16.
ask you something. So you got a team like Stanford, right? They just lost to USC. That was their 3rd loss of the year. You're going to give them life again and try to get them in a playoff?
Give them the opportunity to play.
The opportunity to play.
The opportunity to play for a championship.
Just to get embarrassed by somebody really good?
Then that team
Why is that worth it? Or they can go to a bowl.
Mount Union just hung 70 on a team.
Where they could go to a bowl game where they could be very competitive and actually win it. That's the beauty of BCS bowls.
Who cares about the bowl games? Who cares about the bowl games?
The BCS,
No one
it's a
cares
good
about the
recruiting
bowl
tool.
games.
The New Year's Six
recruiting tool.
are very quality bowl games. I mean, sometimes they're
Who cares
even
about
better
it?
than the playoff. Look at the Rose Bowl last
They mean
year.
nothing.
The Rose Bowl was 10 times better last year than Clemson, Ohio State. It's a fact.
And did you win a national championship?
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
that
it
game
does.
felt like
So-
a national
so champion-
championship environment.
So don't make it.
How can you go wrong with the Rose Bowl? How can you go wrong with it? It doesn't matter if it's a BCS
So championships
or a playoff
So
game.
championships don't matter.
Championships do matter,
Well then,
but
Bowl games matter.
would I rather see Clemson embarrass Ohio State or watch a quality Rose Bowl game, a 52-49 final?
and you wouldn't have to because Clemson and Ohio State wouldn't play each other until like the
It's just too
second or
many
third
games.
round.
We don't have time. We don't have that much time.
That's why you cut down the regular season
What?
to 10 games.
That's no.
And then you play 4 rounds of football.
You know what? Because you're going to get a bunch of 10-0 teams like UCF that don't deserve to be up there.
And then if they win, maybe they're fighting and saying we do deserve to be in there.
I don't want to see UCF play Alabama because that would be ugly. That's all.
Okay, but
Save
think about
some
it.
embarrassment.
We're already in
I mean,
Alabama Invitational.
Why can't we just move it to 8? What's wrong with 8?
The new playoff system is basically the Alabama Invitational. If you're Alabama, you're in.
No,
And then we have 3 teams we got to put into.
it's not true. If Alabama
They've been
loses,
in every single time.
because
And
they
this year
have
they didn't deserve it.
because they're either undefeated or have 1 loss.
They didn't deserve to be
They
in this
deserve it.
No, their name was Alabama, so they got
That's
hit.
not how it works.
Their name was Alabama.
Your
so
name
they
was
got hit.
Ohio State last year. You got in.
That's fair. That's completely fair. But we also had better wins that put us in there.
Who's to say Alabama doesn't have
Ohio
good
State
wins
beat number
year
3
in year out?
Michigan in front of the committee's eyes. The last game of the season for them to watch.
This is what Alabama says. Alabama says, forget about the regular season. We'll just take care of business when it's crunch time. You know what I'm saying?
Do they say that?
Yeah, they
It
say
was
that.
crunch time against Auburn.
It was
Yeah.
not crunch time against
Oh
Auburn.
my God.
They knew they were fine.
Oh my God. Okay, so
They knew-
obviously.
obviously-
Basically, Auburn
No.
and Alabama could have colluded
It doesn't matter.
It could have colluded.
That loss,
See.
they knew that loss, and even Saban was completely calm and said it was fine, and he was right.
Let's see. Hey, Auburn.
He proved.
Hey, Auburn.
That
hey,
team,
just listen to me. If we lose to you, Auburn, okay, and then you guys go play in that SEC championship game, we're gonna get 2 SEC teams in. So let's. That's what Alabama was saying.
It was the situation. If Auburn wins,
Just utterly ridiculous.
Alabama's probably not in.
Just
The circumstances.
that would make it more.
I don't know, because
That would
Georgia
make
has
more
one
of an
loss. Georgia has one loss. Georgia's a quality team.
Georgia's all right. They're
No,
not great.
they're a quality team.
They're not.
They deserve to be in there as much as Alabama does.
Okay, so the 5th point is here. Is the Heisman locked up?
Yes.
I think it is.
It's very locked. It's been locked up.
It's
I
so
think
locked
Mayfield
up.
had it locked up ever since the Iowa game when Barrett didn't have a good game. Pretty much since then, as long as he didn't screw up and he didn't. I think
he kind of screwed up. He
kind of screwed up against Kansas, but stats wise, he really didn't.
First
do
half of the
anything to
year,
really mess it up.
I would say it was all Barkley, but since the Ohio State game, he just went downhill a little bit, and it's going to be Baker Mayfield.
Okay. TG, final thoughts.
Like I said earlier, this was probably the toughest decision so far that the committee had to make. I definitely wouldn't have wanted to have been in their shoes, but I think it'd been interesting to be in that room to see what they were saying. But I'm excited for this playoff season. Being a Pitt fan, I didn't expect anything, so I was kind of nice to see, watch from the outside, see what's going to happen. But I think it's going to be Clemson versus Oklahoma in the championship game, and I think that's going to be a really good game. I don't even know who would win that game, honestly.
I just think, I know how many people got angry at this. I know how many people are going to hate me for saying this, but the committee got it right. Wasn't enough for Ohio State. Alabama gets in. It's going to be a much more competitive college football playoff now. You're going to be looking at, I believe, in the Alabama and Oklahoma national championship. And it's going to surprise people, but I think that it's going to be a good game, but Oklahoma is going to be the better team, and they're going to win the national championship. But don't forget the fact that Ohio State is a quality football team that just, it wasn't enough, but they're still playing a great game against USC. That's going to be a great game. And I'm going to say Penn State beats Washington in the Fiesta Bowl. That's my final thought.
They get a free PlayStation. You know that? They all get a free.
All free play.
So
Go Lions.
here's the thing. So the committee got it wrong. Did a terrible job. I think they had one job. That was to follow their criteria, and they didn't do it. I think they need to come out and announce that they will not be following a criteria, and that from now on they will just go with what they see and what they discuss in the room. I think they have made it to a point where the bowl games don't matter. Bowl games don't matter. People like Sam Hubbard, Denzel Ward, Saquon Barkley should sit out their championship games because they got a bright future ahead of them. And with these bowl games really not meaning anything, I think it's just fair to say they don't need to play in these games.
Hold up.
No. I do wish the committee discussions were a little bit more transparent, just so that we could see what they were discussing. I think
that's what they want. They don't want you to know what they want. That's their whole game. Because a week ago, he comes on and says 5 and 8 are so close. There's so little separation between them. And then the next week, he comes out and says Alabama is unequivocally better, who didn't even play Saturday. Didn't even play.
I think it came down to the Wisconsin game. I'm not sure what they saw in that game, but it might, in their view, it might not have been enough to really negate that Iowa loss.
And I will completely admit, in the Wisconsin game, Ohio State had about 18 opportunities to run away with the game.
Nobody is sitting out of these bowl games.
They should.
They are not going to. Absolutely not.
The seniors
you
should.
Play your hearts out. One last game in college. Why would you not play the game?
And you know Barrett's character, he for sure would not
Barrett
sit out
is
that
a
game.
leader.
Barrett,
Barkley is a leader.
Back up.
These guys do not sit out. That shows weakness. Weakness.
Barrett's not getting drafted. And pro scouts have already come out and say we value the combine.
He's a leader. He's
so
going to play.
much more than
You know how that would let Ohio State down so much.
Why? We get it.
That would be a big letdown. What do you mean
Leonard
you get
Fournette
it?
just played today on a Sunday.
You got people that can never play the game of football that would be dying to play in these games.
Look at Jalen Smith.
They'd be dying to play in them.
He was the best linebacker in his class. Got hurt in that game.
It doesn't matter. You got time to recover.
Real big coincidence.
You got time to recover.
He had to sit out a whole entire year. He lost out on around
injuries happen.
About
They're going to happen.
$3 to $4 million.
That should not.
James Conner got injured in the Pinstripe Bowl last year, and he's on an NFL team right now.
Yeah. Why are you scared to play a game that means a lot
They're not
for
scared.
your team?
They don't want to risk it. It's fine.
It's
fine
dumb.
with me.
It's dumb not to risk it.
Nick Bosa.
It's
coincidentally,
dumb. Go win yourself a bowl game and make your school proud. Show some pride. Go out with a bang. Why would you want to lose as a senior your final game in college career?
You trust your team enough behind you that they're going to win. Denzel Ward shouldn't play. Sam Hubbard shouldn't play.
Then you'll get killed. Then you'll get embarrassed, and that's not Ohio State. That's poorly representing
Sam
the Big
Darnold
Ten.
has to play because he may or may not come out.
That's poorly representing the Big Ten. If you sit all of them out, you're just saying, "Oh, okay, we quit, or we're babies because we didn't get in."
We're not quitting. They're saving themselves for the future.
No,
I completely get
these guys will play.
I completely understand. Christian McCaffrey,
That's a different story.
What's the story?
Huh?
Tell me.
What do you mean? Tell me.
Christian McCaffrey.
That was an individual. That wasn't a team player. That's simple.
So he's not a team player.
He was bigger than the game.
They play all year to try to make it to a national championship, giving their bodies out on the line.
Yeah, and then he doesn't show up for the bowl game.
Make it in.
Yeah, it just shows weakness.
I completely
not committed
understand.
till the end.
I completely understand why they don't want to go out there one last time and risk getting hurt. Football is a dangerous game.
It is a dangerous game, but you only get to do it once. So
you're still getting all the freebies from
I
it.
bet you he regrets it big time that he didn't play his final.
He doesn't regret it one bit. He's making bank on Sundays, scoring touchdowns on Sundays for the Panthers. Leonard
You
Fournette.
only get to do it
Leonard,
once.
you think Leonard Fournette cares? Dude's out there carrying the rock in Jacksonville.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you don't make the Super Bowl, then what happens?
We don't talk about NFL. Anyways, the committee got it wrong.
Don't sit. That's the basic.
The committee got it wrong.
Committee got it right.
They need to change their. This is my final thoughts. Okay, mine.
We're sharing our final thoughts.
Get back on.
You said sit players.
Get out. This is my final thoughts.
Ohio State sits players because they didn't make the playoff. Come on now. Come on. Give me a real final thought here.
I said the committee got it wrong.
Okay.
Which they did.
That's your opinion. It's a Buckeye fan.
As a human who watches college football and respects college football,
Okay.
the college football committee needs to take a long look and figure out a new criteria setting, and they need to lay it out there for people to see.
8 teams. There it is. 8 teams. No.
My final thoughts here.
None of this. None of this 32.
Sorry about Willie. He's on another level tonight. Listen, the committee needs to come out with something to say, hey, this is what you got to do to get in. And if it's just, hey, you need to be the better team, unequivocally better, don't lose, okay, then fine. Ohio State's not going to schedule Oklahoma. We're not going to schedule TCU. We're going to schedule Youngstown State, Citadel, and Mercer. So that's really all I got. I'm a pissed off Buckeye fan tonight. Willie's gone. TG?
So, hey, thanks for having me on the show tonight.
Excited to hear your hockey segments.
Excited for it. Just making some last-minute changes in hosts, but hopefully it's going to be on the air here pretty soon. We have a good first show lined up for you guys.
TG, it was an honor talking college football with you.
You're a little late to the boat. Hey, from everybody in my bedroom, Fridgie,
Willie,
TG.
go Bucks.
Go Nittany Lions, baby.
Hail to Pitt.
And I'll tell you right now, I hope Clemson kicks Alabama's ass. I hope Oklahoma beats Georgia. This is what I hope, not what I predict. I hope Clemson wins the whole thing because I hate Oklahoma and I hate Alabama. Good night.